Home Affairs Minister Motsoaledi says he has requested the Special Investigating Unit to probe the department's process of issuing residence permits. It follows the recent dispute between the department and a Zimbabwean national, Kuda Mpofu, over his permanent residence permit. Mpofu took government to court to stop the department from deporting him to Zimbabwe after allegations that he obtained the permit fraudulently. So Motsoaledi told the media in Pretoria that Mpofu, who was an employee of the Northwest Department Corporation, committed fraud. So let's bring in immigration law expert Shraf Essop to weigh in on what emerged from that media briefing today. Shraf, good afternoon. Thank you for your time on the SABC at this hour.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for the opportunity.
Following the briefing earlier on, and for those who've just tuned in and need context, talk to the Kuda Mpofu and Department of Home Affairs case, the crux of the matter, the issue related to fraud emerging as well.
I'm sorry, repeat that again. I
was just asking for you to provide some context, talking to the Kuda Mpofu and Department of Home Affairs case, just the crux of the matter as issues of fraud emerged during the briefing as well.
Yes, so it appears that Mr. Mpofu is saying that his documents are not fraudulent, but according to the minister, Mr. Mpofu is taking to the media rather than fighting the matter out in court. Although Mr. Mpofu is apparently has been informed of the so-called illegal or fraudulent permit way back in about June or July 2023, these matters do take time to unfold and there is a legal process. Typically, if you are in possession of a fraudulent document, then there is a section called Section 29. And the section provides that the Director General may declare you a prohibited person. But 29(2) says that you may file an appeal to the Director General not to be declared a prohibited person. So these are matters, like I say, attaching to fraudulent permits or visas. Now, I'm not even sure if this matter is already before the court, or whether the department has replied or hasn't replied. It could be sub judice, but just in general terms, in terms of administrative justice, if the department intends declaring someone, let's say, prohibited or in possession of a fraudulent document, you have to follow due process. And this has been the mainstay theme through many cases, including the ZDP matter. So you got to give notice to the affected party that, look, I believe that you're in possession of a fraudulent document and I'm going to take steps and I'm giving you 30 days to come up with an explanation or to come and meet us or to give us documents or challenge our claim before I declare you prohibited. You see, so all of these administrative steps have to be taken before, not after.
And so speaking...
So where it's taken after, yes.
No, do continue on that point.
So where it's taken after, then the applicant can go to court and say, look, there's no due process, I was not pre-warned, my rights are being affected, and I should have been given an opportunity. But even if I haven't been given an opportunity, then the decision that the department has come to has to be in terms of the Constitution, lawful, reasonable, and procedurally fair. And these matters are dealt with in terms of the Promotion of Administrative Justice Act. So you could find yourself, even if the outcome was clear, the process leading up to such an outcome was not legal.
Thank you for setting that context. On the issue of administrative justice and following due process, I mean, in the briefing, talk to the measures that have been undertaken. The Home Affairs Minister also saying that he's requested the Special Investigating Unit to now probe the department's processing and issuing of resident permits, and also on the issue of fraudulent officers. What's your thoughts on that as well?
I think such a move is to be welcomed. The minister has been at pains to reveal so many cases where Home Affairs officials have been complicit with the actors out there for illicit gain in issuing every kind of document you can think of: identity documents, passports, birth certificates, work permits, etc., etc. So the Special Investigation Unit is one of those very special cases where only the president can sign off a proclamation that such a investigation must proceed. And I think the minister is correct there. If the SIU is involved and they start rooting out, let's say, the bad apples, then you're going to start seeing results. As he says, watch the space. Now, it's interesting in this case of Mr. Mpofu, and he cites obviously the case of Bushiri as well, that certain officials that were investigated internally took a stand that, no, you can't investigate us. I mean, that's like an employee saying, you cannot investigate me for theft or some illegal dealings while I'm in your employ. I mean, it's quite ridiculous. But I think the minister will proceed and he will prevail. And I think such a move is to be welcomed. South Africa's borders were porous. Lots and lots of people have come in different ways. And as the minister is saying, it's people coming in suits with suitcases full of money to bribe officials. So it's also a problem that they know that the officials could be bribed. Now, the minister says very interestingly that they are concentrating the energies and resources on the crocodiles and not on the lizards. That means, not the small people crossing the border to buy paraffin, but on the organized crime that is behind this. I think his last line is quite interesting. It says the days of the crocodiles like Mpofu are numbered. I think that is a warning to be heeded and welcome.
And so, speaking of which, given South Africa's social reality, even some of the reform frameworks that have come to the fore in recent months, talk to us about Border Management Authority, their role, their efficacy to date, what you're witnessing on that front involving the different stakeholders to also combat the issue at hand.
So when one reads the authority of the Border Management Authority in the Act, you can see that they have very, very wide-reaching powers. Some of them are basically, to prevent the pull factors into South Africa and, to take steps in that regard. So you would see that they have a number of recent successes. It's been in the press. They've arrested people at the borders. They've arrested people harboring migrants in trucks and cars. And there's certain organized crime syndicates have been arrested and taken care of by the BMA. So this is the new agency, and you can see that the minister was talking to this agency earlier on in his address, where he says that the circular or the directive of December 2023 was to assist the BMA because they were new on the block, so to speak. But I think, again, a right step in the right direction to try and clamp the porous borders and the criminal syndicates that are operating quite brazenly.
Ashraf, just as we wrap up, I want to then also look at the white paper on immigration, outlining proposed changes to the country's asylum and immigration system. Just in lieu of what's transpired and some of the other cases coming to the fore, where do you think we've taken the correct strides, but what are the gaps that also emerge? Just very quickly as we wrap.
There's several gaps in that entire white document, and I think people are engaging with the minister, and he's asked that the people do so and deal with it. So, for example, one of the things that he's looking at is the whole chain of acquiring citizenship. So he says the three silos, refugees, immigration, and citizenship, will all work in tandem. So at present, for example, after so many number of years of being on a let's say, refugee permit, you could apply and obtain a standing committee letter that you'll be a refugee indefinitely. That letter allows you to apply for permanent residence, and obviously after 5 years of permanent residence, you are able to apply for citizenship. And I think the minister is talking to, there's no automatic conduit. So he's going to be looking at all of these things. And I think one of the problems that he's highlighted is the incidence of marriages of convenience. Again, you could be married for 5 years, then apply for permanent residence, and then move on to citizenship. I think what he's trying to do is limit that avenue of gaining citizenship.